Welcome, and thanks for joining us today. You're listening to the Women's Broadcast Television Expert Spotlight Show, and I'm your host, Shavon. WBTVN is the all-women's internet television station with content that's created by women and for women. And joining us today on WBTVN's Expert Spotlight Show is an amazing woman that you are just going to love. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Allison Larson is a highly sought-after speaker, author of the book Soul Intuition, the sacred practice of connecting with your God-given gifts. And she is considered to be evolving as the leading intuition expert. Welcome to our show, Allison.
Thank you, Shay. I'm so honored and glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Well, we're honored to have you on. And, you know, I know that you really have a diverse background also, not just in writing the book and all the speaking and all the great things that you do, but also personal training you did. You're certified as a yoga instructor and also certified as a reflexologist.
Yep, and Reiki master. We can't leave out the Reiki.
Yeah, you can't leave that out. So are you still doing some of those things in your life? Or are these things that you did, now you're kind of evolving into other things, but still obviously, you know, keeping them in your life?
Yeah, well, I definitely still use all those skills that I learned indirectly now in what I do to help people. But, you know, Shay, the thing for me is I think we're always just learning and growing and discovering what makes us tick and what makes us feel alive. And so I definitely was passionate about those things at one point in my life, and I'm so grateful for what I've learned. But I'm definitely evolving to help people share their messages with the world now.
Well, you know, I was kind of hoping that you were still really deep into reflexology, because I thought I could just drop my feet off and leave them with you for about a month and then pick them up later.
There you go.
There is nothing, I think, that makes you feel more relaxed and just, you know, just feel great about yourself. I mean, I think that it's something somebody should do. I mean, I do it every day if I could, but a couple times a month or whatever. So that's great.
Well, definitely come to Arizona. I'll be teaching a class. I teach classes occasionally still on reflexology and foot zoning. So I'll be teaching a class there actually in the beginning of May. So if you really want to come and learn, then catch me in Arizona in May.
I do. We'll talk about that after the show. So tell me a little bit about, you know, growing up and what got you to where you are today. Because I do want to mention also that you have 4 amazing, wonderful kids and a really handsome son. I mean, husband. Yeah.
I have a handsome son too. Two handsome sons. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Well, you know, that is an interesting question. And something that I always ask people now is, do you feel like there's more that you should be doing? Like there's something more you could be offering the world? And, you know, I found myself very happy. I had all my children really young. So by the time I was 26, I had my 4th child. So I had 4 kids under 5 at 26. And it was so fulfilling and I loved it. But there was this little voice inside of me, this little seed planted that just kept saying, hey, there's something more for you out there. So in my late 20s, actually my husband's in construction. So in my late 20s in 2007, I was forced into entrepreneurship with the downturn of the market, which was a huge blessing. So it really was. And what I discovered and what I realized is that for me and my own mission and my purpose, it included being an entrepreneur, included helping other people to move their businesses forward and their messages. And as you mentioned, I started out with some of the more physical aspects, moved into the emotional, the spiritual, and then came full circle to help people now grow their messages and get really get them out to the world.
Get them out to the world. You know what? Actually, when did you know that you had this intuitiveness and that you really wanted to build a business basically around that?
Well, is it okay if we go a little bit deep here?
Please.
Okay, I can open up a little bit.
I'll look forward and listen too.
Okay. Well, you know, it'll just be our little secret here and everybody else watching. Okay. You know, I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder when I was younger and actually struggled with anxiety for years. And I remember as a small child just thinking there was something wrong with me. And I knew that I was different. And I think the mistake so many people make is those very things that make us different, we think are the things that are wrong with us. And so for years, I thought there was something wrong with me. Well, then one day somebody said to me, Allison, what if this is actually a gift? What if the very things that you think are wrong with you, that make you different from other people, are really the things that are right with you, that can be your gift to the world? And I was so intrigued with this. And what I learned was they were exactly right. That my ability to focus and concentrate when I harness that correctly has allowed me to accomplish and achieve so many things. That my anxiety, when I'm able to calm that down and turn that into a focused energy, allows me to be so productive in a way that truly can bless people's lives and change the world. So part of that journey was just discovering that if I listened to that inner voice and recognizing that I had my own divine blueprint inside of me for success and happiness that was unique to me, and once I recognized those two things and were able to use those, I was like unstoppable. All of a sudden, it doesn't mean it's not hard, but all of a sudden I'm accomplishing and doing all these things.
Right.
And that is what intuition is. It's when you're able to look within, when you're able to listen for and find those answers that are tailored just to you, and recognize your unique gifts that you can offer the world that maybe many of us think are actually the things that are wrong with us. It could be just the things that are right with us.
Well, and I think that they are right. And I think that it helps us to have more empathy and understanding for other things that other people, are challenged with, that we can relate to that. I'll share something that I've never actually talked about on TV before. I've done a lot of media. I have dyslexia. I didn't have any idea. Nobody knew what dyslexia was. And, like anything else, it comes in different ways and it affects you differently. But I'm the girl that, I can go to the same place 5 times and can't find my way back home or there, because directions are tough for me. But what you do is that no matter what it is that you're challenged with, you find a way to be able to, get to what you need to do and do it, because you think of it differently than the average person does.
Yeah. I love that. I love what you said. And I think that sometimes it's our very struggles or challenges that, like you said, allow us to become great gurus. Gu means from darkness and Ru means into the light. I had an experience, Shay, about a year and a half ago on December 31st of 2015. I was in a snowmobile accident and I actually got a head injury. And part of this head injury, it triggered some different chemicals in my brain, which caused me to experience an enhanced OCD, anxiety, and also depression, which I'd never experienced before. And of course, with head injuries, doctors say, sit in a dark room and do nothing for as long as possible. Can you imagine being anxious, depressed, and experiencing obsessive compulsive tendencies and sitting in a dark room all day? I mean, it was like a living hell. And it was during that time I had a friend come and see me, and she said, Allison, you're becoming your great guru, because you're going to understand what people go through. And she was right. It was during that time, Shay, that I completed my book, that I got on my first speaking stages in Beverly Hills and Los Angeles, that I was able to actually get an international speaking opportunity at the Women's Economic Forum in India. And as I persevered and grew and learned from all these things, it helped me to become so much more empathetic, and helped me to relate to the people that I was teaching so much more in a way that I never could have before.
Right. Performance is one of those things that when you have something that is a challenge for you, is that you find something that you feel that you're good at, that you can get, that you feel power from. And I came from a dance background, and I performed, and I was good at it. And so that was the thing that I could always, kind of go to and feel good about myself, because the other things weren't always making me feel good, but that was okay. I learned how to navigate. And I think that's what we do. We navigate around these kinds of issues. And we just, take a different, out of the box kind of approach to what you need to do to make it all work in life.
It's so true. And, you know, I just have to say thank you so much for sharing that with me about your struggle with dyslexia. I think, and I truly believe that there's two ways we can learn. We can either learn by counsel or by consequence.
Yes.
And it's so, I so appreciate somebody who's willing to share some of their experiences and to help counsel me and other people so that I don't have to experience as many consequences. So I love what you said, Shay. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thank you so much. And, you know, I don't keep it a secret anymore because I think it has been a benefit to me. Mm-hmm. I realize now when I do certain things that, you know, getting to where I need to go, I've worked it out inside so that I feel comfortable with it and that it's going to serve me. And we all learn different ways. We all find ways to, you know, to do that. And, you know, I look at other people and I bless them for their, you know, for what they've gone through. And believe me, dyslexia, and it's mild, but still it's, you know, confusing. And the challenge with it, it's not like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and not have it.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. So, and I don't think it's a life sentence either. I think it's what you make it is. You know, that landscape out there every day when you wake up is really the landscape that you make it. The choices that you make are all the things that you're going to, you know, be able to either reap all the benefits from or have regrets. And I'm not the girl that wants regrets, and I know that you aren't either. So.
I'm not. You know me well. You know me well. You know, and another point I want to bring up too, Shay, is I think so often, for good or for bad, sometimes we label ourselves, right? So, you know, I could be the girl with OCD, or I could be the depressed one, right? Or I could be the cellist. I play the cello, or I could be the basketball player. But when we put labels on ourselves in this way, sometimes it limits us. Yeah. So I love what you're saying about the landscape. It really is what we make of it. All of these things that we are, or that we have, or that we struggle with, or that we've accomplished, they're just all part of our landscape that makes us who we are, but is not solely who we are. No. So, I mean, I love that we can celebrate, and I love what you're doing with the Women's Broadcast TV Network too, because that's where we can just really celebrate as women, or as people who are trying to help the world, just celebrate ourselves for who we are.
And I definitely believe, and thank you so much for those good, kind words, but I definitely believe that Women United are changing the world. Yeah. And I think that, you know, there's, you know, many things that we need to do. One of the things is that we're meant to connect with other people and to move. And I think the connection is reaching out and finding the things that are going to help you and how you can help other people. And collaboration is really all about just really finding a partner instead of finding somebody that you think that you're in competition with, because there is no competition out there. And then you get to ask for your messages, and you left them clear, and you say what it is, you know, that you want, and God has a way of taking care of all of that. So
it does. And, you know, I love that you brought that up. You and I had a conversation at the Icon Summit where we both recently attended, and it was about competition, about being women. And I love what you shared with me just now, and also then, because I think there is this feeling of competition. I shared with you, I have not felt comfortable in groups of women for the majority of my life. And one of those reasons is, you know, I've never struggled with weight. I've never struggled outwardly with anything. You know, I got married. I've been married for 18 years. I have 4 beautiful children. I have a nice house. All these things that make people feel like, well, she's so put together, she must never struggle with anything. But they don't know what I'm struggling with on the inside. I think there's external struggles, and then there's internal struggles. And I maybe had some more of the internal struggles. And so oftentimes in groups of women, I felt judged, or all people come up and say to me, well, you know, I hate you because you're so skinny, or I hate you because you're so beautiful. And even though they're mostly joking, there's a little bit of truth behind that. But when I meet people like you, and when I meet women, now I'm able to really stand in my own confidence and know that I can be a lighthouse and radiate light out to others and not soak in like a sponge negative influences. Right. When I meet people like you and women who are really trying to change the world and working together to do it, and it's not a competition, and we can all admire each other's beauties and support each other in our struggles, that's when the world really can become a better place. So I love that you say we're working together without competition.
Well, and I think that we need to get past the competition, and also the sexuality that women use, and I'm just talking about flirtation, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because we're done with that. Should fly that away, because we are powerful women. We've educated ourselves. We're doing things and caring about other people, and that's power that's brought together because we do unite. And I definitely believe walk the walk and talk the talk. And so really having you come into my life and agreeing to, collaborate on, like, having you on the show and inviting me to be, a panelist on at the Icon.
Which you are a huge hit, by the way, Shay. You stole the show.
I don't know about that. Well, that's kind of, you had some amazing people there. And I want the audience to know that you hosted that whole thing for 3 days. You were absolutely amazing. And yeah, everybody was saying, my goodness, she's so beautiful. She's so talented. She's so, and I go, yeah, isn't that fabulous? And I just totally embrace that, because I think that's so good. Thank you. Thank you so much. So what do you think has been one of the most difficult things that you've had to, power through?
Yeah, lately it's been, and maybe it's just because I grew up in a more conservative area, or, I grew up with a religious background, but one of the things I've really had to struggle with is being a mother and being a successful working woman at the same time, because I had a lot of guilt surrounding that, Shay, and there's still people in my family or in my church or in my community that they just don't understand, and I really had to work through that, but I had a beautiful experience. And I think through this experience, I'd like to share with you what I've learned. My oldest daughter, who you met at the Icon Summit,
she's absolutely delightful. She's beautiful. She takes after you.
She is amazing. She's 17. She's going to be going to college, and I've been traveling quite a bit the past year. One thing I've learned as a mother, though, is that when I'm home, and I may not have the quantity of time that some other mothers have with their kids, but I have amazing quality time with my children. And, I know for a fact that there are mothers, and I would probably fall in this category if I wasn't really doing what I was passionate about, who stay home all day and then they don't really interact with their kids. So I really strive to interact and be present when I'm at home. But back to the story, my daughter, who's going to college, she wrote an essay for one of her college applications, and she shared it with me. It was a beautiful essay about how her mother is such a good example to her of living her dreams and pursuing her passion and really working to change the world, and how that shaped and developed and meant so much to her. And as I read that, it was such a tender mercy. I mean, just tears streaming down my face. But I knew in that moment that I was doing the right thing.
Right. Yeah. That you kind of froze on me for a second. Yeah. So you froze for just a minute, so I hope that you come back. But, there's not a better tribute to your gift of being such a great mom, but other than by having your daughter, really just, be a part of that and say all the good things.
Okay.
So are you back with us now?
I think so. I think I'm here.
So what I was saying is that what a tribute to you, and those kinds of special moments and things that you learn about, that you work on so hard, all of a sudden just pop up through these kinds of things where she shows you what she's written and the role model that you've actually been to her and the family.
Yeah.
And to others.
Yes.
So what would be your words of wisdom? You've already said so many of them, but what would be your wisdom? Like, people should follow their dreams? And I definitely believe in that, but I want to say this too. So many times I think people are sitting in the audience or sitting and listening, and they're going, I would do that if I knew what my dream really was, but that's okay, isn't it? If you don't know.
Well, and I get that a lot, and people say, well, how can I discover my strengths? So there's a couple of different pieces of advice, words of wisdom I would give. Number one, if you don't know where to find your strengths or aren't sure what they are, the first place you should look is behind your weaknesses.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, sometimes those very things which we think are different in a bad way or different in a good way. Look at Walt Disney. He was told he was a dreamer. and that he would never amount to anything because he was such a dreamer. His head was always in the clouds. But instead of listening to those people, he said, no, you know what? I have this vision. I'm going to do it. And he created the happiest place on earth. Look at Albert Einstein. He was told that he was no good, that he thought outside the box. He was fired from several jobs. Well, his very thinking outside the box led to some amazing discoveries, which now are blessing our lives. So first, look at your weaknesses. Look at the things that set you apart, make you different, and look for the strengths behind them rather than the weaknesses in them.
Always.
The second piece of advice I would give to everybody is to pay attention to this acronym, PEG, P-E-G. And something that I have my clients do is write it across the top of a paper, P at the top, then E, then G. And P stands for passions, E stands for experiences, and G stands for gifts. Now, if you can identify those things that you're passionate about, if you can identify the experiences, the unique experiences you've had in your life that have helped you to grow and shaped you into who you are, and if you can identify some of your God-given gifts or talents, if you can fill out those three columns, your passions, your experiences, and your gifts, you'll start to get an idea of maybe what you're really good at and what you have that's unique that you can offer the world.
Well, and I love that because I think that that's an exercise that someone can do that says, I'm not quite sure what my dream is. I have all of these things that I really like doing. How do I bring that together and follow it? And
yeah,
and there's the answer that you were looking for. That's fabulous. So how can everyone get in touch with you, girl?
So they can, two places. I have my website, soulintuition.com. That's S-O-U-L intuition.com. I have to clarify because I've done the footnote.
Exactly.
This is S-O-U-L, soulintuition.com, and that's where they can find out more about me personally and my book. And then also, I'm the founder of the Speakers Coalition. So if there's anybody listening that's a speaker that wants more platforms or stages, they can go to speakerscoalition.com.
Great. Well, you froze again on me, but we got everything down. And truly from the bottom of my heart, what I do want to say to you is thank you so much for coming on WBTVN's Expert Spotlight Show. I want to thank the audience also. Without you, we wouldn't have listeners and we wouldn't be able to get the message out to a broad audience. So thank you always for joining us. Thank you. Yes. And until the next time.
All right. Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye now.